That'll just be there. Let's talk.
Excellent.
Editing will fix
Can you
everything.
submit a cheat sheet? I have this one.
Oh, yeah, I did get that. That's today's announcement?
It's today's
Yeah,
announcement.
got it.
It's in your email too.
Yep.
Now I'm supposed to know that by heart.
So
I read it this morning. I even wrote a story
I
already,
will
so
do
I'm
this.
prepared. I'm
Yeah,
looking
we
forward
saw
to
it. It looked great.
Yeah, I just
Yep.
got it quickly up there. I plan to add some more to it. But,
No problem.
so, should be good, so. All right, well, I guess maybe start off with, I guess, if you want to just go over the announcement a little bit, just the importance of it for you guys. Obviously, you guys have been in the NFV space here for a while. I know,
Right.
big investments have been involved in NFV. This seems like kind of, I guess, a continuation of that push into that space.
I would say that what this really is a part of rolling thunder for the whole company. And the things that we're announcing today just enhance what we announced at Mobile World Congress in February. So from a top headline, I would say the biggest news is the announcement of the version 2 or generation 2 of our NFV director, which is owned by my friend here, Massimo Fatato, and his OSS domain in CMS.
Uh-huh.
And we're bringing a lot of functionality that our customers were really asking for in this second release. So improved automation capabilities. And another thing that I think is really important is the ability to stitch together the legacy physical world with the emerging virtual world. So you have lots of orchestration choices out there that come from the IT environment that really understand VMs and virtual services really well, but they don't understand network services and things that have to touch the control plane. And what we've done is we've built our NFV Director orchestration product out of a network-based activation tool, which gives it a full library of all of those legacy physical devices that it can abstract into the virtual world. And then we've bolted orchestration to it so that we can use our OpenStack Helion asset that includes Heat, which is the orchestrator for that world, and sit above both of those and provide a master Mano-compliant orchestration function that stitches together the legacy physical world, eases the transition into the new physical world. So that would be, in my opinion, the top headline. Did I get the story straight?
Absolutely. Let's not forget that all this is set to be open interfaces, multi-vendor. So this clearly cannot cover just the HP part, but will cover, in fact, whatever other vendor that is part of this major rolling thunder change for the carrier space.
Now, obviously, I know the orchestration part of it. I know I've talked to a few of the companies here already. Yesterday I was here, and over the past couple of weeks, it does seem like the orchestration part of it is becoming an important aspect of NFV rule. And obviously, there's a lot of legacy equipment out there, and it does seem like, at least for the near term, it's going to be a lot of having to kind of balance between old and new and making sure things are working correctly. That seems like that's a pretty important aspect of all this, right?
We think it's the key issue.
Okay.
It is the primary issue. And I like to quote a friend from the industry who I can quote, a guy by the name of James Feger over at CenturyLink. And James, I had a public conversation with him here last year, and we were on a panel, and he said, Jeff, we've got 5,000 routers from each of 8 different vendors. How is it that without a product that can manage orchestration for me across my physical world that I already have, 40,000 routers, and the new virtual world that you're proposing that I start to implement, am I going to actually get this done? I can't turn the switch on, 40,000 routers tonight when I go home to bed and turn on the virtual infrastructure. I need somebody that can, sit above this and manage both worlds effectively. And so that's exactly the design center for our product, is making sure that from a multi-vendor, multi-hypervisor, multi-OS, multi-controller perspective, we can expose the interfaces and do the integration such that we can cause this whole world to come together and ease those transitions and not break the carrier's OSS as they start to transform.
And this is what our customers are telling us. It's not just our perception. It is when we meet them, they realize, they know, they're telling us that the MANO, the OSS, the management aspect is probably the most crucial element of this major change. And again, allow me to quote, in fact, a friend of mine from the Telecom Italia side, where I was born from a career viewpoint. And he was saying to me that when we started our career a long time ago, there was a direct connection between the management side, the service, and the underlying technology. So circuit was carrying a service, so one-to-one match between the two. No need for complicated management elements. IP revolution, all of a sudden, this service versus physical connectivity detaches, and therefore you need management capability that allow you to understand where your service is running in the infrastructure. With the coming of the virtualization, this element, that is understanding how your service is effectively delivered on not just the virtual, but a mix of new and virtualized and non-virtualized and physical, becomes crucial, of a paramount importance for a carrier to understand where the service is run and to gain and have visibility end-to-end of the infrastructure, the service, and the customer experience. So that's again, the voice of the carriers.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we are going to be kind of in this, this old and new world for probably several years. You guys see how long that might be lasting? You expect at some point, 5-10 years down the road, where they will be able to make this switch over, or will this world kind of be with us probably for quite some time? Because I mean, eventually equipment will run out, will stop working and we'll replace it. But are we looking at probably 5, 10, 15 year kind of process of trying to stitch together things?
I'll give you a Jeff opinion.
Okay.
Based upon being in the industry since '93. It's longer than you think, and the gap is bigger than you think.
It's like a reporter, I like that.
Yeah. So, when I look at the way that the carrier service provider from a business perspective is structured and how he moves, it's a lot like the railroad. Now they're trying to break that model desperately, and this is a an effort at breaking this model. But I think that there are two basic rules that they're going to have to follow. And if they follow those basic rules, we're looking at a multi-year journey that's measured on 5 to 10, not 1 to 2. So rule number one is, I believe that the carrier at supply chain and at the CFO office, they need to make it a checkbox that every capital refresh that they look at is evaluated for NFV. Then there's a technical evaluation that has to occur. That's step 2, but it's step 2 today, which will have a step 3 somewhere tomorrow. And the technical evaluation is they need to look at the thing that they're going to virtualize and see if it fits this model of it's relatively compute intense and it doesn't have super high bandwidth requirements. And the reason for that is because the way that the commercial off-the-shelf servers are designed today, the backplane on them has a limited bandwidth. So it doesn't matter if you've got 4 PCI slots and you could put 4 100 gig NICs in that thing. The backplane itself won't allow 400 gigabit to transition across the backplane simultaneously. You'll saturate the server. So we've got to see server technology advance at a pace that equals network interface technology in order to get those high bandwidth applications, brought on board. So I see this world where we start with simple things to do, like NAT, DNS, anti-spam, malware, firewalls, virtualized CPE for enterprise, virtualized CPE for consumer, moving into more complex things like policy and IMS and virtual core. And it's going to be a while before we get out to those real heavy hitter bandwidth applications like an eNodeB, something like that. So we'll start with this basic rule that says compute intensive, moderate bandwidth, and we'll move to, it doesn't matter if it's compute intense and if it has really high bandwidth, but it's going to be a multi-year journey. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like even right now, we're probably just in the beginning of the first steps, really. We're just getting to that very first part.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, but even like the mid ones that you talk about, I mean, even going to like, IMS and virtual core, even that seems like that's a, you mentioned it as being kind of middle ground there, but that's that's a big step even for most telecom operators, because that's, that's turning over a lot of the stuff that they're so familiar with now into a virtualized environment, which is a trust factor and things like that. But I guess once we get there, it'll be.
It is a big step, and I think you'll see different carriers move at a different pace. So the second headline in our announcement, this is a great segue.
Mm-hmm.
So we're announcing our virtualized mobile core. So we announced our virtual HSS at Mobile World Congress in February. Now we've added a packet gateway, an MME, a serving gateway, our MRF, our WebRTC gateway, and our API management product, all as virtualized network functions. So if you think about this set of rules that I laid out, where you've got capital refresh, you need to look at capital intensity, and you need to look at technology, virtualized mobile core is really a unique middle ground that we can enable. If you look at the states, LTE is widely deployed.
Mm-hmm.
It was done in a physical manner. There's going to be a capital refresh cycle that's going to come on.
Mm-hmm.
Carriers should take a look and see if they can do it, in this new virtualized sort of a way. We've already demonstrated that things like the packet gateway, serving gateway, MME, HSS, we can virtualize. We've got plenty of horsepower, both bandwidth and compute, in a commercial off-the-shelf server to do that. So it's a natural next place for them, to go. Besides some of those other, more near-term things that we talked about. And that's our intention, is just to try to help carriers take the journey. Now, one place that I think that this is really going to give them a benefit is the ability to spin up new revenue-generating MVNOs to address particular demographics or particular styles of digital connectivity that they really can't do today. So like if an AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, well, it doesn't matter the carrier, Vodafone, Telecom Italia, if they want to spin up an MVNO, first their business plan has to be absolutely positively right, because they're going to spend a ton of money. 18 months would be an unprecedented amount of time for them to actually turn the thing on. It's probably measured more something like 36 months. And by then, the particular segment that they wanted to address could be gone. If you could spin up a virtual mobile core for a particular MVNO, just in software and a shared infrastructure, as long as you can get your business processes to all agree that you're going to do it, you can spin that up really fast. It's days. And the risk is just turning on a software license. If you fail at it, turn the thing off, and reclaim the shared infrastructure to do something else. But, I think that this is going to be a fantastic opportunity for carriers to really change their own business model and almost kind of start to over the top themselves.
Yeah. That's interesting to look at, because I know, carriers seem like they're a bit conservative when it comes to, messing too much with their own core services. But when it comes to an MVNO, there can be a little bit more leeway there and doing something, at least getting their foot in the door with virtualization that way. It seems like a nice way to
absolutely. And they could do that core in two different kind of models. I call it, there's this heavy MVNO, and then there's a light MVNO. In a heavy MVNO, they could actually spin up their own HSS with their own subscriber entitlement database that's for that MVNO. Have their own billing, so have their own mediation to capture the information. Maybe they don't want to bill. Maybe they decide, I'm going to do real-time charging. And they just implement charging, no paper moves anywhere. Or you could do a really thin model that says, I'm going to leave all of that up to the core that I already have, and what I need is a gateway.
Mhm.
So this just gives them tremendous flexibility that they haven't had.
Yeah. What sort of time frame do you see the virtualized core thing now being? I know you guys, it's available now.
It is available.
One of the products was available next year, right? I forget which one it was.
Was that the API management that's available next year? I believe
Yeah, I
it
think
is.
so, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
so this one's available now. I mean, what sort of time frame do you see operators beginning to, start to look at this virtualized core? Because again, it does seem like it's one of those maybe mid-tier things.
Yeah,
But obviously it's available now, though.
it is available
Is
now.
it just a matter of that refresh cycle when they start to kind of look at rolling it out then? I mean, obviously maybe a new carrier
Yeah.
might be a little more aggressive in the fact that these legacy guys are probably looking at it more of a refresh cycle before they start to make that move forward.
Well, I know what I can say, and I don't know what I can't.
There's
So,
secrets now.
yeah, so we've deployed this technology.
Okay.
There are people out there that are using it. I don't know if we can publicly disclose the name of.
You can use Fog.
Okay, that
Oh, yeah, I
was.
saw them there in the
Yeah.
release, yeah.
I didn't catch the name in the release. So we've
Okay.
done this with Fog.
Okay.
And Fog is a really interesting new MVNO. So they're a data-only MVNO. And what they're doing is they're buying wholesale minutes from carriers all around the globe.
Mhm.
They run a thick MVNO model, so they have their own HSS, they have their own mediation, they have their own policy, their own charging gateways. And what they enable is global data roaming for people who purchase HP devices with an LTE radio in it.
Okay.
And those devices also come with an added benefit for our customers. So it comes with 200 megabytes of free data
Mhm.
per month for 2 years. And then there's a top-off service.
Mhm.
So if if you're more than just a light email reader and you need, full internet connectivity,
Mhm.
HP with Fog is really the only entity that can offer you seamless data roaming around the world
Mhm.
on LTE.
On LTE, yeah, it's impressive. That's LTE roaming agreements are a difficult thing to procure, it seems.
Yep. And so Fog is the mechanism by which we're doing that.
And they've just pretty much implemented this virtual core into their system that just works, it
Yep.
integrates everybody else and
Yep.
it all comes through.
Yep, we built and integrated that whole platform for them.
And what kind of time frame was that to get that up and running?
So the up and running was not that hard.
Okay.
But like we've been talking about before, the journey.
Yeah.
It's been a journey. So we had them up on their own HSS and our virtual gateways in about 90 days.
Wow.
Now, what's happened is that there's been continual addition and growth of the network. So every time you go into a new carrier, you've got a new set of gateways that you've got to deploy. You've got to, either redeploy the subscriber database that you already have, or you've got to multi-tenant it, stand up a new one, and that is ongoing. So it hasn't stopped
Sure.
from the initial, we stood the thing up. And I think it was Switzerland or France was the first.
I could probably check.
I can
Yeah.
look at that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think it was in Europe, the
Yeah.
first
But
carrier.
the first one got up and running within 90 days, though. And
Yeah.
you've been just adding to it. They've been adding
Yep.
since that point. Wow. It's pretty quick.
And more in general, though, going back to your question about the refresh,
Mhm.
it's very much also, the technology is there. We are deploying it. We can do it quickly. It is when we talk to the CFO side, they're looking at the financial element, and again, might be wary of the fact that they need to replace stuff that has been just acquired, and therefore they will, be probably pushing this to a later stage. So that's a kind of thing that, we are considering when dealing with this kind of major programs.
Mhm.
Okay, so the refresh element, it's also something that we need to take in mind. Absolutely.
Do you see like a geographic time frame? Like, are some areas perhaps a little more advanced than others when it comes to going to the virtualized core? Is Asia Pacific perhaps a little more? They've always been like they're very aggressive and they're rolling out new networks.
Yeah.
Do you see any sort of geographic mix right now, or is it still kind of early in the process? Hard to gain.
I wish I could say it's really clear. It's been variable over the last year, and I think it's because of two factors. Where you would expect to see Asia to go first
Mhm.
with this, they actually went second. And I think the only reason they went second is because the US was fully deployed on LTE.
Mhm.
The rest of Europe, they still have to fully deploy.
Yeah.
And Asia was kind of in the middle. Now I saw as we were starting to implement, Korea in particular pop up.
Mhm.
And Korea, they decided what they wanted to do since they were second is to leapfrog.
Mhm.
So they said, we're not going to just do a virtualized mobile core. What we need for you, HP, to do for us is help enable the virtualized mobile core, bring it to us under full resource management and orchestration, and give us a very sophisticated graphical, onboarding tool on the front end of this, so that we can start to do our own VNF and our own service onboarding as we get prepared, to deliver this new virtualized network.
Mhm.
So it was interesting. You kind of had, US, they went really quick,
Yeah.
but they deployed it in Europe
Yeah.
in a few carriers, but it was a US, entity that went and did that.
Yes.
Then you had Korea said, we're going to go next. EMEA said, we're going to go next, but Korea said, but we're going to do it,
Yeah.
over here.
Yeah, I mean, SK Telecom has been very aggressive. I mean, they've been rolling out virtualization, and
Yep.
I mean, they've been just going crazy with it. So yeah, like you said, they are definitely trying to push the barriers to
Yep.
whatever the next section is. So interesting. Okay. All right. I think those are most of my questions on the general topic of the news today. I guess maybe just looking at for HP, how important? I mean, obviously you guys have announced big investments into the
Mhm.
virtualization model there. I guess, how important has that become for the company? Has it kind of has it transformed the company? I mean, how's it, obviously from the telecom side, we see a certain angle of it, but from
Yep.
from a core of the company, how important has it become for HP?
I would say that it's in the top 3 priorities that have the highest level of executive attention. Meg personally is involved in not just watching
Mhm.
the communications industry. We started this Open NFV business unit that's led by Sar Gilai.
Mhm.
And SAR has, been given additional oversight to help the entire company come together to answer the compelling questions that the let's call it the digital service provider, that's emerging.
Mhm.
Answer the questions that they're going to be asking in the coming years. So it transitions all the way up into Meg's office. Every business within the company is starting to align its resources so that we, like with NFV, deliver end-to-end solutions that leverage the entire company to answer our customers' problems. Huge attention.
Yeah, and it seems like too, again, it seems like from HP background, that this move to virtualization is probably not as huge of a jump as maybe for some other companies that are maybe more telecom-centric
Yeah.
backgrounds.
It's really natural.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the kit that we have across the business, we've been the world leader in commercial off-the-shelf systems for over 10 years.
Mhm.
We've been the #1 leader on delivering virtualization solutions since this space emerged. We sell more VMware than VMware does. We have this interesting business called CMS
Mhm.
that's a telecommunications focused software and services business unit, and we've been delivering 6.9's applications into the carrier network for years. We're the #1 GSM HLR or CDMA HLR vendor, the #2 GSM HLR vendor, and we offer our customers, a guarantee of only 5 seconds of planned and unplanned downtime per year. Nobody else does that. So you take those things, we're the leader in orchestration software. We're a huge leader in security
Mhm.
in software. with Tipping Point and ArcSight and those properties. We have a world-class services organization that can not only put it together, but can run it for you, run it in your facility, run it on your behalf within us, and manage it. So we feel like we're in a really unique position that we can provide the customer everything that they need. But even beyond that, and I kind of saved the last attribute for a purpose, we're probably the largest IT partnering company that there is out there. And we don't have this disillusioned view that we're going to own the entire stack. We're going to bring a multi-vendor best-of-breed stack that aligns itself to what the customer needs. So if the customer loves affirmed gateways and they love Alu's IMS, and they want to run it on our stack and use our management and orchestration, absolutely, we can do that and we'll do it.
Okay. I guess that maybe brings up my final question too. Then is I'm trying to ask everybody at the show here that the importance of interoperability and working through the TM forum, for instance, of different trade groups to ensure that again all these different platforms can talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you guys do it all open source, so that's a big part of it as well. But I guess can you talk a bit about the importance of that cooperation with everybody, realizing that for this to really work, it has to all work together, or it's going to just fracture the market.
It's going to be a mess.
Yeah, exactly. I guess the importance
Yeah.
of that, whether it's through organizations or just talking with each other, how important is that to get that part of, I guess, on the table when you go talking with companies?
Well, I think it's huge. So we focus on a few, and I would tell you there are traditional standards bodies like ETSI,
Yeah.
and the NFV, ISG, where we've had leadership positions, chairing and helping to guide that. And TM Forum was Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are what I would call new emergent bodies that need our attention. So OP, NFV,
Mm-hmm.
and OpenStack, we're the major contributors there, and we're working with them. And the reason, in our opinion, is just really clear. Those guys, they come from a different space. They're going to be really agile, and we have a lot to learn from them. But at the end of the day, there are certain things that the carrier is not going to risk without having the proper mechanisms implemented within those open source kind of solutions in order to get the traction that everybody needs. So if I were to kind of put it into a continuum, I'm looking for ETSI to help around definition on kind of this super management, administration, network orchestration kind of a layer, and we're driving that really heavy. TM Forum, they have this thing called Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
I like to see, and I'm driving Zoom to get really tightly defined. So it's an application of frameworks that we've come to know and love to virtual. Let's not get ourselves or our customers confused. Let's, like we frameworks did before, let's Zoom it, frameworks into the virtual environment.
Mm-hmm.
And then, these open source bodies, I think that we've got to track with them. We've got to help. You look at like OpenStack and Heat for orchestration, bit of a mess. It understands how to do Vim for OpenStack, but that's it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, are there too many of these organizations popping up trying to each do such defined little things that it makes it, at some point, is it just making it confusing now? I mean, eventually it might all work out in the end, but are we in this process right now where it's just like, is it too much right now, or is it, because for myself, just trying to cover this, it's like every day it's like a new organization.
Cloud
popping up.
NFV.
Yeah, with their own new set of standards.
It's probably like any other major industry in a phase of development. There's a lot of stuff, and then it's going to be consolidation at a certain point, whether it's on the path of the standard bodies or those who build the various components. There is going to be consolidation sooner than later, and the sooner the better. But one thing probably that I would like to add to what we were saying before is that, again, that's as you said before, that's Massimo opinion now. Looking back at my career,